Welcome back to the Board Game Closet. My name's Jimmy.
I'm Tim.
I'm Rod.
And today we're going to take a look at a game that was sent to us called War of Kings by Heath and Seth Robinson. So in War of Kings, it plays 2 to 6 people in roughly
3 to 4 to 16 hours.
90 to 120 minutes.
92, 1 to 2 hours. Okay.
When we pull this out, you're going to see
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to take like a long time, but it really doesn't like that.
Yeah. Let's open it.
Let's see what's in the box.
Okay. So this is what you get in the box with War of Kings. Rod, do you want to talk about the components and artwork, all that?
So the first thing is, wow. I mean, look at all the stuff that you get here. Where do you even start? So first thing, we'll start off with the more boring components, I guess. So the gold, the representation of the gold, one being, the larger one being 5, and the small one being 1s. The same over here with the pieces. So if you have is that the wheat? Mm-hmm. So wheat, you either have 1s or 3s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the value of them. It does the same for what cattle was there, and there was wood.
Timber and stone, maybe.
Yeah. The stone doesn't have the 3s because you don't really ever grab that much stone.
So those almost work like money basically. So like cash, like dollar bills. So it does what it's supposed to do. It does a good job at that. The dice, there's
So many dice.
Yeah, there's a million different dice.
There's attack, there's defense, there's bonus, there's what are they called?
Yeah.
So
What are they called?
they do what they're supposed to do, and there's lots of dice, and they're decent size, so Tim's little hands can go ahead and grasp them correctly.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we go to the to the towns. You got what are these villages, towns, and cities?
They're all settlements and they're different, the different sizes.
Well, village, towns, and cities, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're easily to you can decipher it quickly, so you can tell right away what they are, and then of course you have your fortresses to build around them. And
That is so
I think
cool.
it's just so cool. When this is on the map, all the pieces are out there. It is pretty impressive.
And it's so easy, even those structures right there, to tell the difference because the walls look like wooden pikes on the walls.
That is awesome.
And then
Right.
the
That's
fortresses.
my favorite one.
Fortresses have the little towers and the little smaller walls, and the castle is
It's
the
huge.
classical castle looking
With
thing.
the towers and all
Yeah.
that.
And then it doesn't just stop there. You've got a gigantic map board,
Huge.
which
Two-sided.
is two-sided.
What?
Which is which has got some pretty neat artwork on it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, when it comes to component, this thing is outstanding.
And it plays 6 people, right? So 6 sets
Yeah.
of these. You get
Yeah.
6 sets of all of that.
Yeah.
And they have different starting points too for each one of the colors. So then it tells you based on the people that
The number of play.
where you're going to start off at or which groups that you can use. So it kind of pushes you together if you're a smaller group, so your game doesn't go forever because you're starting on opposite ends of.
And then there's also a set of bad guys, right? The Vikings, who are the
Marauders.
and they're off by
They're
themselves.
Vikings. They're
and they're
basically
causing problems. And they cause problems all the time. So it's very neat. The piece is fantastic. Can't go wrong with it.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Okay, Tim, let's talk about the rules. How hard or easy is it to learn War of Kings?
All right. So when you first look at it and you look at the rule book, it's complicated, right? There's a lot to it. There's so much extra stuff you can do. The rule book, the first setup and everything is a little bit difficult as is explaining everything piece by piece. They do this thing where they go through kind of a quick setup, but then they explain everything in sections in the back instead of explaining it as you come across it, which I'm not a big fan of. But it does actually give you the sections in big bold so you can find it. Like, hey, I need to go look up settlements. Well, there it is.
Ta-da.
You can find it really easy when you have the question about it. It's just that when you go through all the rules, I think it should be laid out in a straightforward manner as you go through it, not as you come up to it. And here's Marauders. To find out more about Marauders, read the Marauders section.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a fan of that, but it does keep the initial gameplay section kind of skimmed out so that you can kind of just process it a little easier. Because the game itself is not difficult
It's not
to
bad,
play.
yeah.
As soon as you play one round, the first round, everybody's got it. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And
But
everything.
it is pretty. I think it's pretty intimidating at the beginning. It's just
Yes.
like, oh, there's so much to it. But then you just follow through with your little cheats, your step by step.
And there's so many like things that collaborate to make things happen. Like to get gold, you have to have roads to you know,
Right.
capital from a city or a settlement or whatever. Blah blah blah. So there's all these little rules that interact with each other that you have to keep track of.
You got to know.
And that's the key. Is one person has to have read through the rule book to be able to play this game properly.
Okay, so how do you play War of Kings? We'll give you a basic overview of the game so that you can figure out if this is going to be something that you want to purchase for you and your gaming group. So at the beginning of the game, like Tim said, based off of the number of players, they're going to tell you where you start on the board. So like in this side, sorry, we got it covered up with all these components.
There's so many components.
But basically, what you're going to do is you're going to start in a corner, and then they're going to tell you the things that you get to start with. So you're going to have your little city, right? Or not city.
You start with a town, a village, and then a road, which is these little pieces to that, and then you own all 4 of these.
Right, and so that just shows you that you
Yeah,
actually
and these
that you
tokens.
just own them, and so you get it gives you starting things, which is really important. And this would be probably the most intimidating part at the beginning of the game is understanding how resources work in the game.
Yeah.
So you've got this little cheat sheet that kind of helps you, and then you've got these little ledgers that you keep. And this would be probably the fiddliest part of the game to me is this, because as the game plays, when you add things to it or when you lose things because of battle, you're attacked, somebody takes something that belongs to you, this can change, and it is constantly fluctuating throughout the game. And so you have to keep good track of what you've got, and you have to be reminded even when somebody takes something away from you that you're like, oh yeah, don't forget, you got to adjust your resources, and that also affected how much gold you get, and that affected your achievement points, all of those kinds of things. So anyways, at the beginning of the game, based off of where you start at, it's going to tell you resources that you're going to get. And so there's a major resource and a minor resource. The very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to roll for resources, right? And so there's going to be, how many is it? Is it all 3 of these that you roll? So you roll these 3 resource dice, and so then they tell you, okay, green, red, and yellow was rolled that time. And so based off of your little chart here that tells you how many you get, you just look and say, okay, I get 3 timber because it was a yellow, I get 2 cattle and 1
which is filled out based on what you owned on the base.
Right.
So you're filling this out, so you just keep track of it.
Yeah, and so based off of what you get, then you're actually going to go in here and get your little money things or your tokens that represent these resources, and then you get them. And then all together, you're going to be building stuff. And so it's a construction phase. So you get to build stuff, and you say, okay, and they've got the little recipe here that says to build a city or a road, it costs 3 gold, 2 timber, 1 wheat, no cattle or any stone. So then you just pay the bank or whatever that thing's called, and then you cash in your...
The market.
The market. You put your money into the market, and then you build that thing right there. Kaboom, I did it. And so this is all happening simultaneously, and so everybody's doing exchanging things and kind of going and building stuff. So there could be some oversight that you need to give to new players to make sure they're doing things correctly.
Or to really old players.
to make sure that they're not forgetting something
What about
that
the
they
younger
owe.
player that might cheat the son?
Yes. The descendants, you got to make
Exactly.
sure they're keeping it real. And so, but anyway, so you construct, and so everybody's constructing and going through it. Then you
And
go
that's simultaneous.
simultaneous.
So it doesn't take like a super long time because everybody's doing it at the same time.
Yeah. So Tim, what do you want to do? And Rod, what do you want to do? Everybody's doing it, and so that speeds things up a little. Then after that, then you're going to roll. Then you're going to take like individual turns. So everybody's going to take a turn, and then you roll these event die. So you're going to roll an event die with a color, and if you've got the corresponding city that goes with it, or is it village or
Yeah,
whatever?
it's village, city. I know you can't see this dice, but
Right.
it's got markings on it for if you just control it, if it's a village, if it's a city, if it's a town. And then there's, of course, the Marauders.
And so then you're going to draw an event card. So let's say that you match it, whatever it says. So do you have a blue city? Yes, I've got a blue city. Then you're going to draw this event card. And so this is something that you're going to use. It's going to give you an ability during the game. You don't tell anybody what it is, and you just hold on to it. And then at the right time, you play that card. Say, haha, I've got that. The only other thing that you could do is then get a Marauder card. And so this is those Viking-type people that are going to come out onto the board. And so you just do what it says. And it says, blah, 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 place out a thing here or do something there, and so then you would be able to control them or use them or whatever it says. And so that's a neat aspect to the game because it introduces somebody that could be attacking your opponents, and you don't have to be that guy. So that's kind of cool. So then after you do that, then after the event is settled, then you get to move. So if you want to move your armies, so you've got these little armies that can go out, and this is how you explore in the game. So you would go into a new area and say, okay, I'm going to explore this area, and then you would reveal what happens in that. So there's going to be dice that you roll to say, hey, what happens when I do that? And then there's a chart on the back that says what happened, okay? And then you find out what happened in that area.
Blue axe, you do that part.
Yeah, so it's real easy. Just say, here's an axe and it's blue. What does the blue axe do? And then it says, hey, there are marauders in that area, and it's not just marauders, but they have a fortress, and there's all this stuff, and you discover them. Or it could be nothing happens, or it could be
The plague.
the plague.
The plague. Or Jimmy and the plague.
Happens with the plague. Or it could just be nothing's there. You just get the resource that's in that location, and so ta-da, that's easy. Then you move on from there. Then you're going to, depending on what you did, if you moved into an area where there was somebody else, you could then battle them, fight them, and then it's just exploring, battling, and then at the end, then you can supply your army. So if your army got beat up and you're connected by roads back to your city, then you could resupply them, heal their wounds, things like that. And then it starts over again. So then you go through again, you roll the supply, you're going to get gold and resources on that turn, and do it all over again. So
And the game seems to be more of a non-battle. I mean, there's battles. Don't get me wrong. There's things that occur, but you can stay away from the battles too.
Sure, if you don't want to.
And win the game. So it's pretty interesting. I like that.
Yeah, because the game's completely built around achievement points, which and it's got another little chart here for the achievement points. And the achievement points are what you own. So like the cities, the towns, the villages. But there's also these cards that show you other things, like titles basically, that you can score some extra points on. But they're not necessary to win the game. You could just basically build up your cities just by getting the resources of unoccupied places, and you just start to own those, and you can just be an explorer and win the game.
So for me, if I was to describe this game, and I hope this is not offensive at all, but I would say that this is Settlers of Catan with combat and a better way to get resources.
What do you think, Tim?
Not a fan of Settlers of Catan.
But like to
and
me,
the way that they do it, because in this, you have a chance, even up to the end, of winning this game.
Right.
Still, there's a Catan after the second turn. You know you're not going to win the game,
and I think maybe that's where the frustration came from with Settlers, is that once it's there, it's there. Well, this one, if somebody's in your way, go fight them, you know, and you can take that land and you can either burn it to the ground or you could own it, and hold on to that. And now all of a sudden you got a village that you just took over. And so to me, it's that same kind of resource management. I get to build up my stuff. You're getting achievement points the same way in Settlers. Even some of these cards even sound like some of the same things, but it adds in combat and a better way to me to get resources than in Settlers. So
The Viking thing is very interesting, because if they didn't have the Viking thing, you really would not have to do any combat at all, hardly. I mean, I could avoid it as much as possible.
I just keep exploring on my
side.
side.
The Vikings push you into battle, because they're showing up right at your front door with a castle.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have
Retreat,
to
And in the early game, they'll just block off a whole section of the map, and
Exactly.
you're like, oh, I just can't get through there.
Or your buddy will be having to deal with them the whole time. You're not having to worry.
Yeah.
You just float
Or
along.
you keep pulling Marauder cards, you're like, whoa, looks like I get to control him, and he's attacking you.
So that's pretty neat. And of course, when you're playing the game, you can also do, you're talking amongst yourselves and, hey,
Build alliances.
Exactly.
Or be a trader of some sort. And
Would that be a rat? Or would that be...
set up.
and the key, too, is all the depth that's into the game. The turn sequence is actually really simple. You just build, and then you move your armies and do something based on what your armies did. But the depth of the game, where each color is actually a culture. So when you capture a city or a settlement, whatever, when you like you said, you can raise it to the ground and get resources for that, or you can keep it, but you can't ever upgrade somebody else's culture. And if they ever come in, they could just automatically take it back because it's theirs, but because the militia is not going to fight back. And so there's militia, and then there's extra dice based on the structures that you get to roll. And if you outnumber people, you get bonus dice and stuff. And the attackers roll a set of dice that's different than what the defenders roll and stuff. So there's lots of depth to the game.
And the thing about this game is, this game looks good. I mean, it really does. When it's out there and you got your pieces out there and you're playing
are y'all
stuff,
playing?
and somebody walks by, like, oh, that looks cool, It's a very nice looking game.
I mean, there's something very satisfying about buying this piece and then
Oh, yeah.
saying, I placed it here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then you there's your home base, whatever.
Yeah.
And you've got a castle with a town or whatever inside it and everything. You're like, boom.
It's very, very cool.
So, yeah. I mean, I know that this game was Kickstarted, and so I'm so excited to see games that get Kickstarted like this, and then they come out like this, you know?
Right.
And so, where I've seen the opposite true with a lot of games where they get Kickstarted and they overpromise and underdeliver. I would feel like if I got this in the mail from my Kickstarter, I would be ecstatic. So.
Definitely.
Okay, so at the end of our reviews, we like to do a simple one-die rating. Should you buy it, play it, or hate it? Green means go buy this game and add it to your collection. White means maybe you wouldn't buy it, but you would definitely play it. And then red means you wouldn't buy it and you wouldn't play it because you hate it. So we all get our die out and we reveal. Ta-da!
Are you serious? I totally thought you guys were going to go white.
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
We just
that
feel good,
does not
man.
happen. It just, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It's got to be the pieces that really sold this for everything.
Okay.
They're not breakable. Anyway.
You're like,
So tell us why you gave it a green.
Okay, so to me, this fits right into the 4X genre. The expand, explore. I forgot what all the 4Xs were. But anyways, it's that kind of a genre where you basically you get to do that grand strategy on a board game and everything, and all the information is there on the board. So once you know the rules, whatever, you get to just play out the game. It's just, and there's so much extra depth in the way things work together. It just sometimes the rules do feel kind of nitpicky about like how you have to do everything as steps and orders and stuff. But otherwise, I mean, the combat kind of rolls out nice. You know,
It's
so
easy,
you can,
yeah.
you know, it's random, so that you could think that you're going in there and going to win and just completely lose. But on the other hand, you can balance it in your favor by just outnumbering the opponent and stuff. So and I think that's really well done.
Yeah, totally. I think the components definitely sold this for me. The gameplay, like what I said, whether you agree with it or not, you know, the comparison to me, like I love that idea of still being able to do some of those basic things that I liked from that game, which was the first game that got me into this, but being able to not be locked into how, you know, whatever I was dealt at the beginning of the game, you know, and then being able to expand and say, well, I need this, I need stone, let me go over there and I could get some stone or blah, blah, blah. You know, armies, just all of the stuff that this game offers to me. The only complaints, like what we've already said, is it feels a little fiddly at times. If you don't keep track of this, you can get lost, some of that. But all of the gameplay itself, I think, overshadowed all of that for me, and I think it's awesome.
Yep. For me, pieces are awesome. You got 2 great map boards. You can play up to 6 players.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot, and I can't wait to play 6 players. That's going to be outstanding. And I mean, the way it played played out really good. Because the problem with a lot of board games is that we wait for your turn, you wait for your turn, you wait for your turn. And this one was pretty cool in the way it did it, and it didn't seem like you were always waiting for your turn.
Yeah, the big phase that takes the longest, the construction phase, is simultaneous.
Right.
So everybody's doing it at the same time, like grabbing stuff and putting things on the board. So it doesn't feel like the game is just dragging on. And then the actual turns are so fast because you roll the event dice and then you move your armies and then find out what happens. And it's literally like, it just happens like that.
Yeah.
So then it's all the way on the boom, it's construction phase again.
Outstanding game.
I think the only hesitation that you might have is sticker price, right? You know, I don't know what this retails for, but I think to calm those nerves, there's a lot of games that even charge more than maybe what this one costs, and you don't get half the stuff.
That's true.
So, I mean, for me, I think that this one is a safe bet with your money.
Definitely.
And if we didn't mention this was sent to us for review purposes.
Right.
So.
Yeah, totally. So, but there you go. So that's our review of War of Kings. We've got a lot more reviews on our website, boardgamecloset.com. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And as always,
Support your local hobby shop. Woohoo!